I'm Sharyl Attkisson. Welcome to Full Measure. Everyone knows that medicine has saved countless lives. Civilization might not exist today without it. But in the most prescribed country in the world, prescription drugs also are a leading cause of death. According to Harvard University Center for Ethics, each year, properly prescribed drugs in the U.S. cause about 2.74 million serious adverse drug reactions and about 128,000 fatalities, 350 deaths a day. In 2014, the world's top 10 pharmaceutical firms pulled in $429.4 billion in revenue. Their profits range from 10 to 43%. With all that money at stake, it's easy to see why you don't always get the whole truth about a drug's risks. In recent years, major drug companies have paid over $13 billion to resolve federal, civil, and criminal allegations of fraud, many involving popular and widely used drugs. Today, a chilling case in point. An antipsychotic pill called Risperdal made by Johnson & Johnson's pharmaceutical subsidiary, Janssen. Some of the material in this report may be too graphic for sensitive viewers and children.
Josh Scholl was in 7th grade when he noticed something upsetting.
I'm like, this isn't normal. So I went to my parents and I'm like, hey, there's this lump under my breast. Can you guys check it out? And they felt it and they're like, ooh, that's not right. And so we went to the doctors for it.
You were like a 10-year-old kid at the time.
Mm-hmm.
The pediatrician said not to worry. But Josh's mom knew better. She wondered if one factor could be Risperdal, the prescription medicine Josh had been taking for 4 years for tics from Tourette's syndrome.
I'm one who likes to research things, so I got on Google right away and started researching boys and medicines and found a few moms out there who had posted their kids were on Risperdal who also developed lumps. So I called the pediatrician back and said, I want him off this medicine. And so we stopped it that day.
What was the pediatrician's response when you linked the lump in his breast to the medicine?
I think they just thought I was a paranoid mom and agreed to switch the medicine just to appease me. But I don't know, mom's intuition, I knew something was wrong.
Good girl.
Mom was right. She didn't know it then, but thousands of boys taking Risperdal were growing female breasts. Some of them even produced milk. It's a condition called gynecomastia, shown in this unidentified Risperdal patient. It can happen when a male has a spike in a naturally occurring hormone called prolactin. Experts say Risperdal can cause prolactin levels to rise.
I remember one of my best friends had a swimming pool and we would all go to his house and go swimming, and none of them had like larger breasts or any lumps or anything.
Did you ask your friends, or you just were?
I asked one of them. I asked the best friend if he had like ever noticed anything about his breast, and he's like, no, I never noticed. And I'm just like, oh, okay, it's weird that's happening to me then.
He stopped taking the medicine, but the breast continued to grow. It was over, I think, a 2-year period where they said, wait 6 months, it'll be gone in 6 months. While we waited the 6 months, it continued to grow. Then he noticed the lump in the other side.
It turns out there's a dark backstory. At the time, Risperdal, an antipsychotic, wasn't approved for use in children at all. But as federal whistleblowers would later allege, Janssen instructed sales reps to market Risperdal as safe and effective for all kinds of childhood disorders, such as Tourette's, ADD, and autism, knowing it posed serious health risks. Philadelphia attorney Stephen Scheller represents Josh. He tried the first Risperdal case last year, an autistic boy who developed size 46 double D breasts.
So the better it's working for you, the more likely you are to grow breasts.
Right.
Key evidence was this internal document known as Table 21 from the original Risperdal study in 2002. Scheller says it showed 7.8% of Risperdal patients whose prolactin levels shot above normal after 8 to 12 weeks developed prolactin-related side effects like gynecomastia. Janssen insiders seemed concerned in internal documents. How do you want to handle the one significant value, asks a reviewer. This may be notable. I think we need to discuss this somewhere in the manuscript. Instead, the head of the Risperdal study eliminated Table 21, according to Scheller.
He specifically made the decision not to tell the public, not to tell the doctors, not to tell even the FDA or anybody about this study that they did in 2001 or 2 that specifically finds the association, even though the law requires it.
A year after the original Risperdal study was published without Table 21, Josh was prescribed Risperdal and developed the very problem it seemed to warn about.
We saw our child, who was this outgoing, happy kid who had all these friends, becoming more regressed. He was shy, he stopped going out with his friends, wouldn't take his shirt off at the beach, wouldn't change in front of anybody.
Yeah, it was very difficult because me personally, I ran cross country starting my 8th grade year. And so cross country starts in the summer, it gets really hot. So all my friends would take their shirts off and I was self-conscious. I didn't want to take my shirt off. I'm like, oh, it's 90 degrees, but you know, do I want to take my shirt off because I have these breasts? And you know, no one else had to make that decision. And then if I did take it off, I felt self-conscious. I was looking around town like, oh, is that person in that car looking at me? You know, is my friends looking at me? You know, it was really bad.
Johnson & Johnson had no comment on Josh's case and declined our interview requests. In a statement, the company said it did not withhold any relevant data. As to why Table 21 was left out of the original Risperdal study, a spokesman implied it wasn't relevant because the researchers concluded there was no direct correlation to breast growth in boys.
Because there's a lot of us together. Yeah.
Josh believes otherwise. There are no photos of him at his worst. He stopped having his picture taken. Like some with severe gynecomastia, he chose a drastic solution, a double mastectomy.
We went to the breast surgeon who, after seeing him, said he had the largest breasts in a boy that he had ever seen in this area and agreed to do the surgery. He had a bilateral mastectomy done, so he was off school for about 6 weeks.
It must be a fairly traumatic surgery.
It was very traumatic for him. He had double drain tubes. He had those in for a week. He had home nursing coming twice a day, but he couldn't move. He had to lay flat on his back because whenever he would move, the tubes would move and they'd be painful. They actually did reconstructive surgery. One side was bigger than the other, so they had to remove the nipple, and then we removed a lot of the tissue and replaced the nipples.
How old was he when he had the surgery?
It was 2 months before his 13th birthday. So he was 12 years old.
Almost no one ever knew why Josh was out of school those 6 weeks. He's one of 10,700 Risperdal patients now suing drug maker Janssen.
The risks are being hidden from the public because the companies want to be able to sell as much of their product as possible.
Parent company Johnson & Johnson told us Risperdal has helped and is still helping millions of patients with debilitating mental illnesses and neurodevelopmental conditions as part of a comprehensive treatment plan.
I've recently learned about what some of these boys have gone through. I didn't know some of them are lactating. I didn't know some have developed third breasts. And Josh was fortunate to not have to go through those steps, I think because we were diligent and caught onto it quickly and got it taken care of. But my heart goes out to the kids that weren't as lucky.
Today it takes a lot of guts for Josh to talk publicly about what happened to him and even more to show it. But he's done hiding his scars.
About the experience, it was one that I wish I didn't have to go through. And I hope all the other kids that are going through it, you know, I feel bad that they had to go through it too, because yeah, the company, I think they knew that it developed gynecomastia, and you know, to make us, all of us, go through it, you know, it's not just like it's me and a handful of other people, it's thousands of people that are going through it. So to make all of us go through it, and they knew just to make a profit, it's sickening.
Last month, a Philadelphia jury awarded $70 million to the family of a boy who developed breasts at the age of 5 after taking Risperdal. Johnson & Johnson is challenging that verdict, the largest to date. Jurors found the company intentionally falsified, destroyed, or concealed evidence in the case. In 2013, Johnson & Johnson paid $2.2 billion to settle a host of criminal and civil fraud claims for illegally marketing Risperdal and other drugs. The firm won't say how much money it's made from Risperdal or how many are taking it. Just ahead on Full Measure, when the U.S. cut a nuclear deal with Iran, Iran freed 4 Americans it had accused as spies. But why wasn't the longest-held American captive released with them? We'll talk with an author about the mystery of Bob Levinson when we return.